President Trump is at the White House right now with Kash Patel and Pete Hegseth and Pam Bondi announcing that the National Guard will be deployed into our nation's capital, that there will be federal oversight of law enforcement in the District of Columbia. The crime is out of control, and Trump believes that our nation's capital should reflect the absolute best that America has to offer. And I've often heard that. I've often learned that. In the years that I've traveled to Washington, D.C., and whether it's been as a guest of President Trump a few times to visit him in the Oval Office, or just to take a tour of the Holocaust Museum, the Lincoln Memorial. I've been going to D.C. since I was a little kid. And I always had the belief that it's supposed to be the shining, clean, safe, best that America has to offer. And sadly, under Democrat leadership, it has fallen way short. And as I'm sitting here, and we'll play some clips for you in a moment from the press conference that President Trump held, explaining that the D.C. police are going to be placed under federal control, that the federal government is going to oversee the law enforcement effort in our nation's capital. And I'm sitting here thinking, well, who could be against that? And then, I'm going through this in my mind. Well, the Trump haters will. The Trump critics, the Democrats, the rhinos, the never-Trumpers, the anti-Trump universe will criticize this move, won't they? I mean, first of all, there's nothing he can do. Ending wars, lowering inflation, securing the border, lowering prices. There's nothing he can do that they're going to give him credit for, ever. And I guess we have to accept that. And we do. But won't it be fascinating to take something like this, deploying the National Guard, having federal oversight of law enforcement, in other words, clean up our nation's capital? His critics will oppose this move. Wait and see. I mean, they're already beginning. There are already rumbles and grumbles and murmurings and mutterings. They don't like the militarization of our police. That's because they hate the military and they hate the police. They hate everything that cops, that law enforcement, that the military represents. Law and order and law enforcement is like, holy water thrown on a vampire to many of the Democrats. So hats off to President Trump. What a good move this is. And watch and see the critics. I mean, let me turn it over to you. Do you see any reason to place the D.C. police under federal control? Do you see any reason to oppose that? In other words, and let me just put it simply. Let me put this as clearly as I can possibly form the words. Is cleaning up D.C. and reducing crime and lawlessness in our nation's capital a bad idea? I mean, that's all. That's it. That's the question. Is it a bad thing to reduce crime in our nation's capital? 800-655-MIKE. Maybe you'll want to argue with me. Maybe you're going to tell me it's a bad thing. Maybe you'll tell me that you don't want to see the federal government overseeing law enforcement. Trump wants to make D.C. safer, more beautiful, and smarter, in his words. Here's a little bit of President Trump at the podium. We'll share with you a little bit of what he had to say moments ago at the White House, announcing this big, bold plan to sort of federalize law enforcement in our nation's capital. And again, you watch and see. They're going to lose their minds over this, aren't they? I mean, I was thinking when I knew this announcement was coming, I was thinking, maybe they'll go along with this. Maybe this is finally an issue where we can be unified. Evidently, we're not unified on a secure border. We're not unified in agreeing that illegal immigration is wrong and harmful and damaging the country. We're not in agreement, I guess, on Trump's tariffs and the economy and the stock market and the inflation rate. We can't agree on any of that. So maybe we can agree that it's a good idea to make D.C. safer. You watch and see. They're going to tell us it's a terrible thing. They're already breathing into brown paper bags over at MSNBC. The Trump critics are already hyperventilating. They can't believe he's a dictator. He's a fascist. He's a king. He's militarized. You wait and see. Watch for the arguments against it. 1-800-655-MIKE. 800-655-6453. Welcome aboard. It's Monday. We're in the upstate of South Carolina in the studios of WORD. Just had a chance to visit with the operations guru here at WORD, the award-winning Mark Hendricks, who came by to say hi to Joey and me. And I've gotten to hang out with Peg and Joey this weekend, and we tooled around on the lake Saturday up at beautiful Lake Kiowee, and just having a great getaway here in my home away from home, the upstate of South Carolina. Thank you so very much for welcoming us. And it's so fun to meet people who listen every day. It's a blast to have so many people come up and say hi, and you love the station and you love the show, and it's always it's a little bit of an ego boost. Don't worry, I'll get back on the plane and get back into the real world where nobody knows or cares. Las Vegas, Nevada, on the Salem News Channel live camera. We hope you're watching as well as listening to your favorite radio station, snc.tv, the 24/7 antidote to the mainstream media. Here's President Trump, and I just got a really nice note from Kevin McCullough, our friend and colleague in New York City, who had some good observations about how much you kind of have to hate your own country to oppose cleaning up the crime in Washington, D.C. Here's the President of the United States.
It's very serious, something's out of control, but we're going to put it in control very quickly like we did on the southern border. I'm announcing a historic action to rescue our nation's capital from crime, bloodshed, bedlam, and squalor, and worse. This is Liberation Day in D.C., and we're going to take our capital back. We're taking it back under the authorities vested in me as the President of the United States. I'm officially invoking Section 740 of the District of Columbia Home Rule Act. You know what that is? And placing the D.C. Metropolitan Police Department under direct federal control, and you'll be meeting the people that will be directly involved with that. Very good people, but they're tough, and they know what's happening, and they've done it before. In addition, I'm deploying the National Guard to help reestablish law, order, and public safety in Washington, D.C., and they're going to be allowed to do their job properly. And you people are victims of it, too. You know, you're reporters, and I understand a lot of you tend to be on the liberal side, but you don't want to get mugged and raped and shot and killed. And you all know people and friends of yours that happened. And so you can be anything you want, but you want to have safety in the streets. You want to be able to leave your apartment or your house where you live and feel safe and go into a store to buy a newspaper or buy something. And you don't have that.
Is that hard to agree with? Is that difficult to agree with? And it hit me as I was covering this. Trump critics are going to lash out. Maybe as an example, here's Willie in Dallas, Texas. Willie, I'm told you don't think this is a very good idea.
Yeah, right. I don't. And first of all, I'm not a Trump critic, but just to get to it, I think that the problem is we're establishing something of a precedent. I know it's been done before, but whenever we start militarizing the police force, I get images of Gestapo in my head.
Gestapo.
Right? I agree with Gestapo.
The Gestapo.
You have the federal police coming in. And no, that's not what Trump is doing. That's not what's going to happen now. But I think we have to look to the future. If Joe Biden was doing this in Texas, where I'm from, I would have big issues. And if I would have an issue with him, I have to stop and say, wait a minute, is there another way that we can accomplish this goal?
Well, okay, and evidently there's not, because evidently the crime from all of the data and all, despite what the media is trying to convince us to believe that everything's just hunky-dory in D.C., the crime is out of control there. They have some of the highest crime rates in all of America, over 200% worse than in some other areas. And I want to pose to you, Willie, as a critic of this policy, I want to see how you respond to what my friend Kevin McCullough just wrote me, which is a really good point. How badly, Willie, do you have to hate the poorest of the poor who live in what is essentially a ghetto outside the monument sections of D.C.? How bad do you have to hate the people who are continually subjected to the highest crime rates in the country? Trump is just trying to make it safer for them. How could you possibly object to that?
Right, and I do not object to that at all. I grew up in a similar type of environment, so I do understand what he's trying to accomplish, and that's not what I am opposed to at all.
I see.
I'm just thinking that this gives tools to the other side also to take it a step further than what we're looking at, and I think.
All right. Let's see what others think. Willie, Vinny's in South Carolina, Boiling Springs. Hi, Vinny. How are you?
Hey, how are you, Michael?
Good.
Listener. I love
Thank
your
you.
Show. And thank you. You're a saint sent from heaven to be able to help all the men in blue, and the veterans, and the hungry people throughout the world.
You're so kind. Thanks for your nice words, Vinny. I appreciate it very much.
My wife was listening to you at the house. But that's
good.
Listen, brother, it's like the school kid. You're able to handle the crowd while you're doing it, and all of a sudden you get overwhelmed. You need Big Brother to come in and assist.
That's right.
This is just because it's called the National Guard. That's what they're there, and that's what they get paid to do, to come in and assist us, our
Bingo.
nation. That's
Bingo. In other words, send in the. You remember?
And they're moving right back out. These guys got jobs and families in other states and everything too. So
I know.
Come on, give the guys
Vinny, we used to really appreciate when we had to say send in the troops. Sending in the troops meant to help the community and be safer and be rescued, or to be. We used to love that. Now it's to the people, I guess, like Willie. It's a bad term. It makes us think of the Gestapo. What are you talking about? You think the National Guard of the United States of America, these brave men and women, the so-called weekend warriors, are SS troops? They're Gestapo? Again, that's the kind of stuff, that's the kind of crap that the loony left comes up with when they describe the military, when they describe law enforcement, when they describe police officers. And look, Trump has had it. He's fed up with it, and he's not going to put up with it.
For full shows, live and on demand, it's Salem News Channel.